Today we're giving you an update on our desert pasture. It's all around me. Hello everyone, this is Dwayne with Edge of Nowhere Farm, and we're here today giving you an update on our desert pasture. So it's been about a month since we did our last video on planting the seeds for the pasture and getting it started. And today what we wanted to do is just give you a quick update. So what you can see all around me here is a lot of green. We're really impressed. I'm actually surprised it's actually done as well as it has. So what we wanted to do is we just kind of wanted to talk about what we've got growing here. We've got a lot of different things. So what I want to start with is kind of work from some of the taller things to the smaller things. So some of the taller plants. So I'm going to start out with looking at, well, I guess I should really kind of clarify. You know, when you look at green like this, most people here in Arizona are looking at grass and they get frustrated when they get some things growing in it. And I can understand that. I mean, if the idea is you want to have a perfectly manicured grass, this is not it, but that's not what we're going for. We want this to be productive. It's beautiful, in my opinion, but we want it to be productive at the same time. So, and more natural, at least as natural as we can get it. You know, we are in the desert after all. But so ultimately what I want to do is kind of give you an idea what's growing in here. Because it's not just grass. There is grass, but it's not just grass. So we'll go over some of the species that are growing in here now. So I'm going to start out with some of the taller stuff. If you look behind me here, I'll kind of pick a piece off. The first thing that we've got growing here is a couple of our pioneer species. And a pioneer species is something that grows naturally. So as long as we've got a little bit of water and not much, this stuff grows first, and this is ragweed. So this is just our local Whitman ragweed that we pretty much always had on the property. We've got a really shallow wash that runs through one corner of the farm, and it's always been there. So we've always get some runoff. It's real shallow. We had 100-year floods here a couple years ago, and it got maybe 4 or 5 inches deep. So it's really not that deep and not that big of a deal for us. But we've got some soil and we've got some seeds that have been brought in, and this ragweed's one of them. So this ragweed is always the first thing that we have that comes up. We've got a few pieces that are around me here that are probably pushing 1.5 feet tall or so. So this pioneer species, this is the first thing that we always see, and we saw that first here as well. Next thing as far as pioneer species would be this desert mallow. So this desert mallow, we've got a few pieces that back behind Lori, kind of patches of it throughout, and we find it all across the farm. But this desert mallow, it comes in pretty much at the same time as the ragweed. We've got a lot of desert mallow that's come in. So we've got that as the second thing. As I keep going down, what I run into next is something that I'm not positive that it's barley, but I'm pretty confident it's barley. If you look at our last video, I'll link our last video here when we were planting this out, you'll see that we put straw down after we put the seeds down. Well, in the straw, because straw is basically what's left over from the production of wheat, barley, oats, crops like that, the straw is the stalk, so there's really not any nutrition in it, but it does help with insulating the ground a little bit, helping to maintain moisture for us. However, there are some seeds left in it, so that's what we're finding here as well. No problems with that. The birds love this stuff. We're actually trying out barley fodder that we're going to try to do as well for some of our animals here on the farm. But we've got it growing in here because we did put straw down, so you'll see that. Next thing I have is I've got what looks like some type of clover. I don't know what type. We planted in that desert mix of pasture seed. We had several different types of clover. This is one of them. It's kind of all around me here, so it's come in really, really well. But we've got some clover that's gotten pretty tall. And then of course we've got some ryegrass. The ryegrass is, in some areas, it's probably 3 or 4 inches tall. I will be mowing this today because we do need to get it mowed to bring it back down a notch. I'm trying to not get the ragweed to seed out too much because it's getting pretty close. But we do have plenty of grass. Inside the grass, there's even different types of clover that I can see. Like down in here, inside the grass, we've got like some traditional clover that people would recognize. So we've got that growing down in here. We've also got some flaxseed. We did plant flaxseed So you see a lot of sprigs of flaxseed down here. I'll just snap this one off. So this is flaxseed here in our little test patch. The flaxseed is now fully seeding, so that's kind of neat to see actual little flax seeds in there if you haven't seen them before. Pretty amazing, but the heads have multiple seeds inside of it. So a lot of times we won't let that get that tall, but those are starting to seed, and these are coming up in here great. So those are coming up, and then occasionally I don't see one in here. Oh no, I do. What we also have, I'm going to break this off, there were actually field peas in that desert pasture mix, and we'll find these coming up in a few different spots. Not real consistently, but as I look around, I can kind of see them a little bit here and there kind of throughout. So we've got these peas as well, these just pasture peas. So those are kind of neat to see come in as well. But ultimately, I just wanted to give you guys an idea. Now, I know when we had talked a little bit before, we were doing a test. We had taken one side, the majority of this pasture area, which is about 5,000 square feet. We had taken the majority of the pasture area and we had tilled it. It only tilled it a few inches with a hand tiller, but powered. But ultimately, we had tilled it. You'll see that on our first video if I haven't linked it already. But ultimately, we had tilled this side. The other side, which is a smaller portion of it, we did a test where we had laid some wood chips down. Those wood chips had been down for about a year, and we didn't till it. So we removed the wood chips, and we've just been watering that. So I'll show you guys the difference between the two. We were a little surprised at the results. So, but ultimately, we'll show that in a second. But we wanted to give you an update of what it looks like here, and then remind you of the reason why. So what we're going to be doing, not on this round of chickens. We got some chicks that are coming out of the brooder. We're going to be processing our broilers next week. So those are going to be going out into the chicken tractors. We've got that kind of on the back of the property. But ultimately, the chicken tractor will be on this pasture. The reason why we're doing that is it's predominantly for the chickens, but it really has kind of a closed loop of what it does as far as them working hand in hand and kind of stacking functions. The chicken tractor will move through the pasture. Each day we'll move it. The chickens will come through and they love this stuff. We've taken some desert mallow and some of these other things and just thrown it into the chicken tractor, and they attack it. Anything that's green anywhere near that, they eat it. Not just stomping it down, they eat it. So obviously that's the reason why we have this here. It's to feed those chickens. You know, we do have a non-GMO feed that we feed them. So that's going to be their base ration, but typically 10, 15, 20% of their food will actually come from this pasture. So not only will they be eating the greens, so they'll be going through and eating all these greens, they'll also be eating the bugs that this type of pasture attracts. Can't see them in here, but if I was to start scratching like a chicken in here, which I can't do, but if I was to start doing that, I'd start finding bugs in here already. And obviously they do eat bugs, they're omnivores. So they're gonna be eating this, they're gonna be eating the bugs, they're gonna be eating some of their feed, and more importantly, gonna be manuring, pooping, all over the place in that chicken tractor, which is why we move it each day. So in that manure, if you don't know already, chicken manure is amazing as far as its nitrogen content and what it does for things that are green like this. You can see how green it is already, but we get those chickens on top of there. They'll eat this, or eat portions of it. They'll stomp it down, they'll poop all over it, put a lot of manure on it, and we'll move them each day. Well, as we go through that process, and we'll show you that process, but as we go through that process, they're gonna actually be spreading that manure out evenly across this pasture, which is just gonna make it come back and grow even greener and even stronger. So really looking forward to seeing what that looks like. And then again, it's that closed loop. This feeds the chickens feed the grass and all the pasture to get it to grow better. So it kind of is just this cool little cycle that we're gonna have here. And then it just makes for amazing chicken that tastes nothing like the chicken that you would ever buy in a grocery store, even organic. I would challenge you to test that out to see the difference there. So what I wanna do, I'm gonna take a quick break, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna show you our little test patch of the difference between the tilled ground and the non-tilled ground that just had wood chips on it. So we're gonna break, we'll come right back to you. So we're actually now over on our test side. So right behind me, in fact, I'm standing just about in the dead center of the switch between the tilled side of the pasture and the non-tilled side of the pasture. Just as a reminder, what's behind me here on my right is non-tilled desert ground. The only thing that was here was just wood chips. We had wood chips on the ground for a year. We really didn't water them much at all, maybe a handful of times. but we didn't towards the end. We didn't till this at all, but we did everything else the same otherwise. So no tilling, but we seeded it the same. We did straw on it. We've been watering exactly the same. And you're gonna see there's a marked difference between the two. And it surprised me because I'm a big fan of wood chips, and I'm a fan of wood chips around my fruit trees. And probably with the way I'm talking, you can already tell with what I'm implying. I was a little disappointed in our wood chip side, non-tilled. So if Lori wants to pan down, I'm gonna squat down. But ultimately, there's just a marked difference between this side of the pasture, which thankfully is not very big compared to the other side, but it's really, really patchy. It didn't come in very well. You can see it's still taking, but it's probably a week, I would say, time-wise. It's a week or two behind the tilled side of the pasture, a month in. It's got little patches that have come up and done okay, but overall it's really, really patchy. So really surprised and disappointed in this side. So I would definitely consider this, in my opinion, a failure, at least on our part. So, and then as a test for us, wouldn't do this again. I would actually come back through and till it. At this point, we're not going to, so we're gonna let it come in. Again, it's coming in patchy, so I'm gonna have to reseed a few areas where it's really, really patchy. But yeah, it's just struggling. It's having a hard time. You know, part of it is the heat. I'm sure we're cooling off a lot. Today's beautiful. It's last weekend of October. It's about 11 o'clock in the morning now, and it's probably 75 degrees, so it's beautiful. And it's finally starting to come in. Really struggled, I think, with the heat. But ultimately, still have everything coming in, and we still see the ragweed, but it's really small. I've still got some of the, I'm assuming barley, but some of the straw seeds have taken. They're coming in. I can see some clover down here, but it's really, really short. The grass is coming in, but the grass is only about 2 inches long. I don't see really any areas where the grass is any longer than that. The flax is coming in okay. We've got a lot of different little sprouts of flax seed. And I do notice where this part of the pasture gets kind of a little closer to our house, and where the house shades it during the day, right in the front, it's a lot greener and much taller, especially the straw. So I'm hopeful that once we get into these cooler days, this will catch up, and then we'll be looking good. So, but this is our test side, so we wanted to give you an idea of what that looked like. But ultimately, just hope that you enjoyed the video today. I know I was kind of rambling on when I was on that side, but I was pretty excited about how that side of the pasture turned out, to see how the seeding went and what it's already starting to look like. But ultimately, I need to get to mowing because I got to mow that side. I think I'm gonna leave this one alone. There's really nothing to mow, but I do need to mow that side. But glad you guys joined us today. And this has been Dwayne and Lori reminding you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere, so can you. Today we're gonna be talking to you, yeah, so today we're gonna be, today is all about, today we're giving you Today we're giving you an update on our desert pasture. It's all around me. Now, zoom back in.
I think I zoomed out.
Hello everyone, this is Dwayne with Edge of Nowhere Farm. Just keep rolling. Ooh, yeah, and I found it. There's a P right there too. Yeah, P-E-A. Yeah.